Just got a little harder to vote in Wisconsin. The majority conservative state Supreme Court has barred absentee ballot drop boxes outside election offices. And those absentee ballots can only be handed in by the voters themselves inside election offices. I'm joined now by Wisconsin State Senator Melissa Agard. Senator, welcome. Republicans in the state said the ballot drop boxes were rife with fraud. Imagine, right? Your governor, Tony Evers, said, you know, removing them puts a dent in the armor of democracy. Here he is after the ruling.
Yeah, well,
I'm just disappointed. I think the decision was wrong-headed. Anytime we decide to take away one of those things that make elections work in this state, to make sure more people vote, as many people, eligible people to vote as possible, that's a step backwards. So I'm really disappointed with that decision.
So, Senator, I just want to say, as the former national chairman of the Republican Party, I relied very heavily on the access that drop boxes allowed our voters to have, number one. And number two, there has been no fraud evidence associated with drop boxes. The dissenting opinion, for example, called the decision disappointing, but not a surprise. Do you agree?
I do agree. This was not a surprise to me, though it is very disappointing. I am concerned about our democracy in Wisconsin and, frankly, across our nation. We know that there were over 3 million people who voted in Wisconsin, and 40% of them, roughly, used those ballot drop boxes in 66 of the 72 counties in Wisconsin. We have the most studied election in Wisconsin history after the 2020 elections, and we know that our elections were safe, secure, and fair. And anything that we do to set another road bump, a speed bump to democracy, a speed bump preventing people from being able to cast their ballot, or stirring confusion and chaos within the voting realm is backwards. That is not what it is that we should be doing in our nation, and certainly not in Wisconsin.
So, Senator, this ruling leaves a number of questions out there. How will election officials know if the ballot person is, that's being dropped off by a person is actually from them? Will there be some type of ID required? How will the Board of Elections enforce this ruling?
We're waiting for some details to come down from the Supreme Court ruling. It's very clear that our hyper-partisan Supreme Court was making a political point, as opposed to figuring out how it is to streamline voting in the state of Wisconsin. We know that people are still going to be able to put their ballots in mailboxes. And unfortunately, as we saw during our elections in the fall of 2020, our USPS system was not reliable in delivering the mail. Ballot drop boxes, we know they've been used for quite a long time, not just in this election. And those are secure, oftentimes on locations of libraries, fire stations. Most often they have security systems watching what's happening there, and they go directly to the clerk's offices. We have decentralized elections in Wisconsin, and we know that it is a system that works. And this is, frankly, another ingredient into the pot of the big lie that's being perpetuated by Republicans.
Justice Brian Hagedorn wrote a concurring opinion that said, in part, this case is about applying the law as written. That's it. The legislature and governor may wish to consider resolving some of the open questions these statutes present. So will you and other members of the legislature get at resolving the problems that this ruling presents?
I wish I could say we were going to be convening in the Capitol building tomorrow to take this up and to address these concerns. I do very much agree that the legislature should be doing its job. But unfortunately, in Wisconsin, my Republican colleagues who control the Senate and the Assembly and the legislature and our calendar are refusing to bring us back in to make sure that we are addressing these very real concerns that our families and our citizens in Wisconsin are facing on a daily basis. I know that our Elections Commission is safe, and they are taking everyone's best interest in making sure that our elections are safe and secure.
So just very quickly, if you could, you made mention about mailing in ballots. The court ruling on Friday comes 1 month before the swing states' primary elections. The court didn't address mail-in ballots. Will there be any coordinated effort to collect ballots from the disabled or elderly and put those in the mail?
So we do know that this ruling does not usurp what the federal government has done to protect people's abilities to vote, and we know that our disabled friends and neighbors need to have that assurance that their votes are going to count in the same way as other folks. So we have a lot of information that we need to be pushing out to folks within our communities to help them understand how it is that they can vote. And the disability community in Wisconsin is going to be having those backs, and my colleagues and myself on the Democratic side of the aisle are going to do everything we can to pass that message out as well.
Excellent. Wisconsin State Senator Melissa Agard, thank you. We'll be right back.
Thank you.